Hi, Sister Sunshine here. Welcome back to my video blog. Alright, I knew there had to be more to this story, and here it is. It turns out that this Ground Zero Mosque is not actually a mosque, but there is a reason that the imam is so set against moving it. There's a reason why it has to be so close to Ground Zero. Why is that? Because it's not a mosque, but it's also not a so-called community center. What is it? It's a rabat. It's a beachhead. It's a training center. It's a bridge, all right. It's a point of contact, all right. You want to find out more about what a rabat is? Well, let's find out about it. I think you're going to be shocked. I know I was. Here we go. Islam centers eerie echo of an ancient terror. Should there be a mosque near Ground Zero? In fact, what is proposed is not a mosque, nor even an Islamic cultural center. Turns out in Islam, every single structure that's linked to the faith and its rituals has a very precise function and character. A mosque is a one-story gallery that's built around an atrium, and then there's a niche that points to Mecca. And there's one, or in the case of the Shiites, which you see in Iran and parts of Iraq, it has two minarets. Now there's other structures, harams, zawiyas, taqiyas, I can't even pronounce some of these things. And there's buildings known as Dar al-Tiblas, or House of Proselytizing. So this 13-story multifunctional structure that they're building, that we've been calling the Ground Zero Mosque, doesn't fit any of these architectural structures that this guy lists in this article. So what is it? Now, the groups that are trying to build this structure near Ground Zero, they know that it doesn't fit any of these things that the author lists. So what is it? They call it an Islamic cultural center, but there's no such thing as an Islamic cultural center. Well, let's find out what it is. He goes on to point out in this article, and of course I'll provide you the link so you can read this whole thing in depth, that Islam is a religion, it's not a culture. And he points out that out of the 57 Muslim majority nations, each has its own distinct culture. Islam is an ingredient in these cultures, but it's not a culture on its own. And so the culture of American Muslims should be American. So why do you need an Islamic cultural center? He makes a very good point. In fact, and this is where he gets to something very important. So this is something that each and every American needs to understand, because this is very, 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 very important. The proposed structure is known in Islamic history as a rabat, literally a connector. Now, what does this guy say? He wants to build a bridge. Well, a bridge is a connector, right? The first rabat appeared at the time of the Prophet. The Prophet imposed his rule on parts of Arabia through a series of ghazvas, or razzias. Now, this is the origin of the English word raid. The ghazva was designed to terrorize the infidels, convince them that their civilization was doomed, and force them to submit to Islamic rule. So what's coming across the bridge? He wants to build a bridge, but who's coming across the bridge? That's the question I want to ask. Those who participated in the ghazva were known as the Ghazis, or raiders. Let's move on. After each ghazva, or raid, the Prophet ordered the creation of a rabat, or a point of contact at the heart of the infidel territory raided. So there was the creation of a rabat, a point of contact, a bridge, let's build a bridge, at the point of contact at the heart of the infidel territory raided. So ask yourself, why do they want to build this point of contact 2 blocks from ground zero at the heart of where we were struck? The Rabat consisted of an area for prayer. So there's going to be a place for prayer at this structure that they want to build. A section for the raiders to eat and rest, and facilities to train and prepare for future razzias. So what is all the stuff that they're going to have going on in this 13-story structure? Later, Muslim rulers used the tactic of Ghazva to conquer territory in the Persian and Byzantine empires. After each raid, they built a rabat to prepare for the next razzia. So it's a jumping off point. They build one right where they struck, and from there they train for the next, and they jump off from there to the next one. It is no coincidence that Islamists routinely use the term Ghazva to describe the 9/11 attacks against New York and Washington. The terrorists who carried out the attack are referred to as Ghazis or Shaheeds, martyrs. Thus, building a rabat close to ground zero would be in accordance with the tradition started by the Prophet. To all those who believe and hope that the 9/11 Ghazva would lead to the destruction of the American great Satan, this would be of great symbolic value. So this is not a mistake. This is not just a coinkydink, all right? This is a plan. This is absolutely known to the people that are putting this building where they're putting it. This is not just happenstance. Faced with the anger of New Yorkers, the promoters of the project have started calling it the Cordoba House, echoing President Obama's assertion that it would be used to propagate moderate Islam. The argument is that Cordoba in southern Spain was a city where followers of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism lived together in peace and produced literature and philosophy. In fact, Cordoba's history is full of stories of oppression and massacre, prompted by religious fanaticism. It is true that the Muslim rulers of Cordoba did not force their Christian and Jewish subjects to accept Islam. However, non-Muslims could keep their faith and enjoy state protection only as dhimmis, bonded ones, slaves, basically, by paying a poll tax, blackmail money, protection money, in a system of religious apartheid. If whatever peace and harmony that is supposed to have existed in Cordoba were the fruit of Muslim rule, the subtext is that the United States would enjoy similar peace and harmony under Islamic rule. So in other words, you're going to enjoy peace and harmony only as slaves and paying poll tax. And if you think it's any coincidence that the First Lady went to Spain and went to certain non-historical sites, but that were important Islamically on her recent vacation? Do you think that was a coincidence as well? I have a video about where she went and why on my channel. Anyway, a rabat in the heart of Manhattan would be of great symbolic value to those who want a high-profile, in-your-face projection of Islam in the infidel West. And then he goes on to talk about basically their increasingly provocative actions, some of the things that are going on in France right now. And then he ends his article by saying, before deciding whether to support or oppose the Cordoba project, New Yorkers should consider what it is that they would be buying. And the author of this article is a writer for the New York Post and the Wall Street Journal, and he's also the author of a book called The Persian Night, Iran Under the Communist Revolution. So it sounds like he would definitely understand what he is talking about. So, we need to really understand what's going on here. This is important. This is a well thought out plan. This is not a coincidence. This is not an oversight. This is not happenstance. And I think that we've wrongly been referring to this as a ground zero mosque. This is not a community center. I believe that this guy is 100% correct, and I believe he knows what he's talking about. This is a rabat. This is a bridge so that basically more of these raiders, these Ghazis or whatever they're called, can come storming across. They're forming a beachhead, and they're putting it at ground zero as a sign of their conquest, and they're going to use that as a jumping off point for the next one. And we're insane if we allow them to build it. I'm absolutely convinced of that. So anyway, I'm going to provide the link. You can read the article for yourself. You know, look into the history of it. Look up these terms for yourself. And I think this guy is spot on. So anyway, until next time, God bless you and God keep you. Bye-bye.